and ever-changing news and computer terminology. Commodore news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills and I'm joined as always by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our first batch of games that were reviewed in issue 9 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and we were flabbergasted at the dullness of Fighting Warrior, roused by the enjoyable Robbing of the Wood, and challenged by the oral horror of Chimera. In episode 18, which covers the wet and rather sunny month of January 1986, we're going to be concluding our look at the games reviewed in issue 9 of Zap 64, along with what was going on at the cinema and on TV that month. Graham, tell us exactly what we have coming up.
Wow, in this massive multi-pack of an episode, we get all zoomy, lefty and righty with Ballblazer, get bounced around with Underworld, and get full-on myth with Imhotep. The Thunderbirds drop by for a puzzling cup of tea, Dynamite Dan bemuses us with random nonsense, and we explore a game based on a dinner plate. Yep. We also return to base immediately with Last V8, and wish our cars would fly off the track with Scalextric. It's a whole lot of crazy.
Awesome stuff. Let's not waste any time then and let's crack on with our first game. It's the second of this issue's games by Lucasfilm, and that game is very different to Cronus Rift, very different indeed, and that game is Ballblazer. 98%, but only a sizzler. I don't get it.
I don't get that.
it.
That was weird.
I don't get it. What are you doing, Zap? I don't understand.
We don't get it. What's going on? Make your mind up.
Don't confuse us.
No, we need not your confusion.
Is it a gold medal or not? You say no, that's just what. Don't know. Anyway, right. 98% Ballblazer. Graham, Ballblazer. Tell us about blazing balls.
It's meant to be kind of a weird sports game of the future, isn't it? Kind of a mixture of, I want to say football and kind of basketball, but in that kind of 3D style. So it's kind of presented on a zooming backwards and forwards kind of effect grid. So it gives it that kind of 3D effect. A successful way of doing that effect for the first time. Lots of stroboscopic raster bars, which sounds like something you'd find in Jamaica, but you don't find stroboscopic raster bars in Jamaica. But that kind of rastery effect. But this has kind of got the formula right. So instead of it being that kind of just endless sort of zoomy effect, you've got like a grid that's sort of an angle, a perspective grid that kind of zooms backwards and forwards as you fly your craft, which is a rotofoil.
It is, yes.
And you can either control it one player and play a computer droid robot player. I think it's 10 levels of difficulty, so it gets quite hard. So you can be human versus human versus droid, and droid versus droid if you really want to just sit there and watch that play out. Why you might want to do that, I don't know. So the object of the game is to score points by either getting the ball into the goal area or carrying it in. So you can sort of kind of a mishmash of, it felt a bit like if it was a sort of almost like a first-person version of Speedball, but without some of the players, extra players. So it's all in that checkerboard sort of play area. It's fast. It sort of zooms backwards and forwards. It's clever 3D, this. It's a clever 3D effect, especially considering this is two-player and it runs at a click. Even in two players.
Yes, split screen, isn't it?
Yeah, split screen, two players. So it's colourful, it's good fun. You just got to go with it a bit. The premise is kind of, it's a sports, it's a game. I can imagine this would be a massive hit on mobile right now, this kind of game, something like that. Those kind of geometry battle type games, there's quite a lot of those on the Apple Arcade and things like that. So it's like that. If you go with it and go with the tech of it and go with that kind of gameplay, there's a lot to play at. And two-player, I can imagine it being quite good fun. One player, I enjoy playing it for a little bit. I have to be honest, these kind of games aren't always my cup of tea. I don't quite see how it got 98%. I wouldn't say it was that close to 100% perfect. It's good and it's good fun, but you've got to kind of go with the whole 3D-ness of it. It is different though, and that is something that I found quite refreshing. It's a very different looking feel game, and I just felt, and it could just be because I'm 40 odd, I started to get a bit disoriented with all the zooming and the zooming around and the left in and the right in and the playing, and I was a bit, my eyes started to get a bit flickery. And that could just
Love
be,
the
I
technical
don't...
the technical terms there, the lefting and the righting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Too much left in, too much right in.
And there were some kids on my lawn.
Pesky kids, get off my lawn.
With your lefting and your righting.
Kicking their football into my grass. No, I found it a bit disorienting after a while because it's a bit heavy on, it's heavy on the colours and the eyes. And there was a time in my life when playing these stroboscopic kind of games, and this isn't even the worst stroboscopic game we play, but playing these kind of games with all of that movement and visual dexterity and all of those colours, and it's sort of bright white and greens and reds and colours all zooming around at you after a while. I just found it kind of getting a bit sort of, start to get a bit queasy. So I think I couldn't have played it for ages and ages and ages. It's one that I would actually like to play with. I've got a C64 Maxi now. We was discussing it earlier. It's one I'd like to play on that with William, my youngest lad, because my eldest is just tuned out. Well, actually, he probably enjoys retro games a little bit because we all had a big World Games playoff. Anyway, I'll talk about that another time. But I think I'd like to play Ballblazer with him because he likes those kind of games as well. So I think we'd get a lot out of that. So I had good fun, albeit that I got a headache. But what was AD Mills' version of events?
I loved it. I loved this.
I thought you'd like this one.
This was, I mean, I enjoyed this more than I did back when I played it when I was younger, sort of thing. I got more out of it now. For whatever reasons, I think it's got a really, really good style to it. There's a really nice sense of just, it's really super slick. It's almost bare bones and minimalist. It's like, the fonts chosen are good. The way that it represents score is good. It's just really simple. The visuals, they're quite like, again, it's just this minimalist aesthetic sort of thing. Like you said, it's similar in style to it's the floor in Base Area, isn't it? It's that kind of 3D rather than that sort of lines coming at you. So it's the checkerboard effects, and we like that sort of thing. But because you can move left, right, forward and backwards, and the simplicity of it sort of thing, and the speed at which this all flies around, and I agree sort of thing. It can be quite disconcerting, disorienting at times, and that's because, just to sort of clarify, one of the things, you don't control the which way you face. You will always snap. This is the lefting and the righting. You will snap to face where the ball is. So if the ball goes past you to the left, you will snap 90 degrees. I noted in my notes that it's reminded me of Automan. and snapping, it's that kind of, you're quick, just push, you're facing one way and suddenly 90 degrees the other way. And you've got to kind of be on that, knowing where the ball is going to be going, and then knowing that you are going to snap. So knowing when to sort of adjust controls accordingly. And that comes with a little bit of practice. When I first started playing this, it left me a bit bemused sort of thing. And I was a bit like trying to catch up with it and always trying to sort of, follow through it. But after a few games against the computer, and to be fair as well, what I also like is those skill levels. I beat level 0 my first game. I battered it. But as you go up once, and I started playing 1, 2, 3, 4, that gets trickier as it goes along. And they get wily to your moves. And you really do start to feel like a really good battle. This is one of those few games where I felt like the AI feels like a decent AI. And that's quite something in, one load, 64K. This is quite impressive, I thought.
It is impressive for that.
Once you become attuned to the speed and recognizing when you're going to flip your view, it almost becomes second nature as to, it's going to happen, and which way to switch, and you get used to that quickly. And suddenly you find yourself moving around that, that whole playboard, the whole, I don't know what you call it. Is it court? It's just a playing area, isn't it? The whole big square playing area, whatever.
Playfield, I think.
Playfield, yeah. You find yourself zipping around that, flipping left and right 90 degrees, but being constantly in control. And, when you're the droid has got the thing in front of you, whipping out to the left of it, and knowing that as you go past it, you're going to swip to the side to face it, but knowing to change your view, your control systems quickly to top left or top right, depending on which way you've gone around it, and to blast it away from it, and then go chasing after it, and the ball's flapping around, and you're each coming at each other and trying to, and it was just great. It's really unlike anything else I've actually played. Other 2-player games, and I've played a lot of games in my time. I've not played much like this. The speed at which it flies about. Yeah, I mean, it's a ball-based game where you've got to shoot it between 2 posts. So football, so things like that. So speedball, as you say, there are some things of those kind of things in it. But the simplicity, the minimalism, the speed of this, yeah, it's really unlike anything. I don't know whether do you need another version of this, because it's just almost perfect as is. Does it deserve that 98%? Not sure, don't know, but I don't know what you'd do to improve this.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's as a concept game goes, it's nothing you could really add to it, mate. Really, that would make it any less of what it is, would it? Would just be maybe making it, because it's a kind of a goalie game, isn't it? It's a game based on scoring, so.
Yeah. And you're both attack and defense. You're all in one, and it's just you flying around this big open play space, trying to sort of outmaneuver and outthink your opponent about which way you're going to go, and it's super slick, it's super fast. I just thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I agree. I did enjoy it. It's just thought I did get dizzying. That's all.
It does, because it's very unforgiving, and that's quite something on the C64, that a 3D game is moving at such a pace as to make you feel dizzy.
Yeah,
from a technical point of view, that, and especially two screens, this split screen.
Yeah, that is clever. It has to be said.
Because I put really good split screen with not a glitch, and that's the other thing as well, not a glitch or frame rate hiccup in sight. It's nothing. It's just smooth as hell. And so that was one of the things I really, really liked about it. I just thought, I don't know how you would improve on this, really. Because it's so simple. Anything you'd add to it kind of just dilute it. It just feels like a concept. Someone had this concept and they ran it past people and they went, well, do you need to? No, it's just this. And they went, because if you look at the complexity of like their other game this issue, Corona's Rift, there's lots of stuff in that, lots of background and things like that. This has some background about great wars and blah, blah, blah. And, it's all window dressing to the fact that this is just a good one-on-one, really fast ball sports game. I don't know how else what you do with it. I don't know. Anything else would just be messing with the formula. I really liked it.
It is good. There's no way around that, and it's well made, well put together, and everything else. So yeah, go play it. I would say go find yourself either an opponent or go and play the computer and go and have a go at it, because I think there is something to really play here. It's a unique game of its type. There's nothing else like I can think of really. It's certainly nothing as slick as that in that kind of 3D way. So go find it. Go play it.
I highly recommend this. I think it's great. And also, I look short, but I really like the music.
Yeah,
so it was really funky.
Good. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, there you go. Ballblazer. I loved it.
Go play it.
Even with the lefting and
Just
righting.
if you're over the age of 40, take regular breaks.
I'm over 40. I don't need regular breaks.
Yeah, but your eyes are still rotating now.
Oh, that is true, actually. I'm actually sat in a rotofoil. I'm doing this from... Absolutely.
You've been zooming back and forth for days. I haven't stopped. I can't stop zooming.
I can't. I keep having to move the microphone because we keep snapping 90 degrees left and right. I don't actually go around corners anymore. I just snap, Automan style.
Parking your car is a simple affair, though. You just literally, there you go, in.
Yeah, just dead people underneath it.
Yeah, you've got to pay more attention to who's in that parking space before you just...
Well, I say, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. That's all I can say. Right, let's move on. Ballblazer, yes, go play it. It's very good. Very, very good. Let's move on, though. Yeah, let's move on to... let's move on. To the first of a double Firebird Ultimate Play the Game double bill. Yeah, two of them. A double bill will be four of them. There are only two of them, so a double bill. We've got the first of those games, and that first game is Underworld. Now I'll talk about Underworld first. I will be completely honest. I have no frame of reference with Underworld. I know it's a Ultimate game. I know it's a Spectrum game first. I've never seen it. Never played it. Know nothing about it.
Was it limited release?
I don't think so. I think it was a pretty big game on the Spectrum. But it came out like about a year or so before then. But it's one of those games that I've heard of, but I've never seen. Not ever. So this was clearly a big influence on Nodes of Yesod. It's very similar. But my first comment on this is, why release this now when Nodes of Yesod has already come out?
Yep, maybe that's why.
Because this is not as good as Nodes of Yesod.
No, it's not.
Nodes of Yesod is clearly an antecedent of this, but it just does everything so much better. Now, it's fairly fast, this game. It springs around. It's similar sort of thing to Nodes of Yesod. You play Saberman or whatever his name is, and I think you're the same guy from Saberwolf.
That's it, Saberman.
You're jumping around, there's platforms, but you bounce around. When I first started this, I went off the first screen, I went left. I jumped up, and there's a clock in the top left corner, and I got stuck in the top left corner between the clock and the wall because it just couldn't bounce out of it.
Not good.
I was like, what is going on here? And I had to reset and restart. So I restarted, went a different direction, bounced around, fell down stuff, hung from the ceiling, went through caves and caverns. I don't know. It felt like, okay, a year or so, whenever it came out on the Spectrum, this might have been, decent. And I know that Ultimate have a good reputation on the Spectrum for their games. because they're pushing the machine and they're doing stuff that other people aren't doing. And this looks very Spectrum-esque. The visuals are still very Spectrum-esque. It just shows its Spectrum heritage. And also as well, so much floating crap on screen coming to kill you.
Yeah.
Another one of those. It's Ultimate can't seem to do away with that. We had this problem with the C64 games, with Entombed and with Black Witch. It's like, stop it. You've got a year's worth of, and maybe it's because they were trapped in a loop, or trapped in a. If they'd have taken out the challenge of those things floating around, then would it have still been Underworld? Would it have still been a true faithful conversion? But some of these things, and as games have moved on and shown that you don't need that, you can revisit these things and maybe amend them and change them and sort of have a look at it and say, for the C64 version, we've redesigned this and think, but no, it is essentially, it feels like a massively, I went and had a look at the Spectrum version. It seems like a straight port, and I don't understand why. I don't know. I didn't like it. Did you like it?
No, I didn't.
Did you get on with it?
I didn't like it.
Did you have any sort of prior history with it or anything?
No,
or?
not really. I'd heard of it. And strangely, it's a game I'd seen the box of so many times when I was going in out of J&M Software, which was a place way back in the day in Grimsby where you could rent
box,
games.
It's
a cool box art. I remember seeing it and thinking, I'll get that one day. Never did. So I think it's a game that has, because it's Saberman and it's Saberwolf and it appeals to the Spectrum owners, I don't think it has the same appeal for C64. Problem I had with this, as much as this is 600 screens, I think, so it's even bigger than the other one that the Sean Southern one. 600 screens. It's just stupidly uncontrollable and unplayable because of all the bouncing around. As soon as you hit something, bouncing around. And so that's the thing. Instead of it being remorselessly attacked at every opportunity and being gradually drained of your life till you're dead, this one just bounces you around to inconvenience. And that is not, even Notes of Yes, I'd had that, but there was at least a way you could prevent that from happening if you just took a bit of time. And this just felt like I was just kind of bouncing around like a basketball being bounced around. It wasn't any fun. It just felt clunky. I think Notes of Yes does what this is doing better, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it just didn't have anything for me. I thought it was just not really nice to look at. Graphics were kind of boring. It was just hard to control, if that's what you could call control, because I don't believe, it felt at times I wasn't in control of anything really, and I was just kind of bouncing around. So looked all right, I suppose, is the best I could say about it. I don't think I would have given it nearly 70% though. It just felt, again, it's a port for Spectrum game. There's probably a great fan base for it on the Spectrum. I don't see the C64 owners looking at this and going, yay, thank God Underworld came out, because it's pretty poor. So, and if you're going to play a game of this type, go and play Notes of Yesod or Ark of Yesod when that comes out. Just don't bother with this.
Yeah, I think reading the review, it seems that we're a bit of a split in the players. I think Gary Penn and Gary Liddon were a bit down on it, but Julian Rignall really, really liked it. I think this is this one. And so I think that may sort of explain the weird score. I don't think it's worth that anywhere near that, especially not at $9.95. It's ridiculous. I think it's living on borrowed heritage at this point. And I would say that just go play Nodes of Yesod. It's a better game. It's more interesting. It's, for all its faults and its issues, and there are some, it's not perfect. It's still better than this, which, as you say quite rightly, is, this makes Thing on a Spring look positively sedate with its bounciness, which is saying something. So I don't understand that. If this was like this on the Spectrum, I don't understand why we'd be so liked. I don't get it. No. I don't think I would have even liked this at the time. I would have found it uncontrollable and annoying.
Yeah, I agree.
So no, not for me. Underworld, no. Born crappy is what I say about this.
Yeah. No, it's not. But it's not good on that. It's not good on to play. No.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on to their other one. Which amazingly is worse.
Yes, it certainly was.
Unfortunately, this does not star Brendan Fraser. It doesn't have John Hannah.
It has got John Hannah in it.
John Hannah.
No.
It doesn't have him in it, and it doesn't have Rachel Weisz.
No.
This game is Imhotep. So this is Imhotep. Graham, what's Imhotep?
Imhotep is a Defender-style shooter, believe it or not, ish, where you play the role of Imhotep, and you've got to cross the lands and finding the location of Throth and the princess over a number of levels. So you fly on a bird, as I recall, or some kind of birdish looking thing, and it's a shooter. So it's a kind of, imagine Defender shooting at these sort of nomad-y things, the birds, they fire things back at you, and if you get hit, you die. You think you got 5 lives or 3 lives, I can't remember. But as you progress, it gets more difficult and stuff. So you can actually, at certain points, get off your bird and you have to carry on foot. And it's kind of a sort of a constant scrolling type thing. It's a bit weird. What it is it's a mishmash of stuff. that doesn't work again. And it's really quite hard, and it's horrible to look at and play. This felt like considering the pedigree of the games that Ultimate have in their back pocket, this is an absolute misfire in every way. It's graphically awful, doesn't play very well at all. It's, as Defender games go, it's crap anyway, and there's better games that way better games that like that anyway. So it's a massive misfire. And I've put that it actually is horrible and looks horrible. And I wonder if at this point, is this not really because it's been a slow, gradual fall from grace for Ultimate with C64 stuff to the point when you're now getting to Ultimate. For God's sake, don't play this game. And I wondered if is this the point where we've got to that unrecoverable fall from grace? That now the damage is done now, which with one kind of kick after another kick, and the game's exciting to get scrappier and not as good and not very interesting, and misfires along the way, and complex incredulity of story, and it's just all going horribly wrong. And I wonder if it's just frustrated designers or developers or people developing for a platform they have literally no affinity for and not really understanding the strengths of it. I don't know where it's going wrong, but going wrong it is, because this got 20% in Zapped. And that is not a good score for a game of a company of Ultimate's caliber. So I didn't enjoy playing it. There wasn't really anything enjoyable about this game. It was, even graphically, it was just ugly. So I didn't enjoy it. It's not a good game at all. And so I would avoid playing it at all costs, really. And it is, if you're going to play Ultimate games, just don't play this one. But you might turn around and say, I thought it was awesome. No,
I didn't actually realise that Defender, I could only seem to scroll in one way. So I've put actually all the talk we've had with like...
I say it's Defender-ish.
Well, what did I put? I put something about we finally have a horizontal scrolling shooter and I should be careful what I wish for.
Yes.
I do have a small modicum of positives, and that is essentially the title screen, which I did quite like.
Yeah, they do good title screens, don't they, in the resolution?
It's a bit blocky, but the parallax is slow but nice, and I quite like the music. I thought the music was quite nice and atmospheric. I didn't really mind that. However, awful controls make this a nightmare to play. Awful. You're so slow, you can't shoot fast enough. If it's a shooter, I need to be able to shoot, and I need to be able to shoot fast, and I need to be able to move fast and react fast. Especially when the enemies move. Some of them are really slow and some of them just home in on you and you can't shake them. It's just a pain in the ass. I didn't mind the visuals, that they were okay, that, what it was. But it's just the lack of thought in the enemy variety undoes everything and makes it virtually unplayable. It's just a mess, an absolute mess of a game. Yep. That just, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand how you would play this and think this is all right to put out. And for $9.95.
That's shocking, isn't it?
I mean, this gets 20% in an issue when Metabolist got 50.
Yeah.
This is 30% worse than Metabolist.
Well, that says you a lot. And with the pedigree of product that sits behind this, I mean, it's a wonder that they even released it, really, because it's shocking.
Yeah, this needed more time in the oven.
Yes, it did. More time.
And a complete rethink of how this was supposed to actually play and be there. I can only assume that they only had this to release. That's why we've got ports of Underworld and Saberwolf in quick succession. But this was a Firebird release, wasn't it? Not Underworld. So it was Underworld along with Firebird. So there's some kind of weird, we'll port it, we'll take these and port them over. So I don't know. But this is not a port, is it? This is a straight 64 game. I mean, this is not a port.
No, that's right. I mean, is there... Did you get to the sort of platformy game bits of this? Because
I could barely get anywhere, something, because I just kept getting killed by the
fireballs.
It's like a shit joust.
Yeah, because as soon as you touch your fireball, or indeed touch the bird things, the nomad things, whatever they are, that fire them, you're dead.
Yeah.
And you only got 5 lives, and you can lose them lives bam, 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 done.
Yeah, and because you can only fire one bullet every 2 seconds, if you fire and miss, which is quite easy to do because things are small, everything's quite small, they're just on top of you and kill you before you can shoot again.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense why anyone would think, that's the rate we want to fire. I've made sort of small shoot 'em ups, and it's the first thing you do is you allow the player to bloody well shoot as fast as they can press the button, even if it's not a hold down fire. Even if you press every time I press the button, I want a bullet to appear. Simple shoot 'em up rules. They're not hard.
No.
So no, Imhotep, God no, awful. We need better things. We need better shoot 'em ups than this, because that's terrible. Let's move on, because I don't want to talk about Imhotep anymore. Our next game is Thunderbirds, a translation of the Jerry Anderson puppets Thunderbirds. This was a cheapie, £3.95. Zap thought it was okay, 77%. What did we think? Well, Thunderbirds is a weird, strange title. Again, you know what this reminded me of? We've had another one like this already. We had it last episode. And that is Goonies.
Yeah. ish.
It's not exactly the same, but
It's a game of puzzles.
It's a game of puzzles where you control two different things, and you have to use one to solve a certain puzzle that allows the other to do a certain thing. Similar in style to Goonies, but a lot bigger. They look kind of crazier. So the plot of this game is you control Thunderbirds 1 and 2. So basically the rocket and the green chunky one. And some scientists have gotten trapped in a pyramid, and you have to go in and rescue them. And the way you go in and rescue them is that these pyramids are festooned with coloured blocks. There's 3 types of coloured blocks. There's blue, green, and yellow. I think it is. Is it blue, green, and yellow?
Yeah. I think so. And so Thunderbird 2, which is the green one, can push the green blocks. Thunderbird 1 can lift or push the blue blocks, and they can both push the yellow blocks. Something like that.
And so it's a block pushing. You've got to move a block, one pushes a block so it allows another one to get through. And there's narrow sort of passageways because Thunderbird 1 is narrow and long. Thunderbird 2 is short and squat, so it's wider, so it can't get through certain passageways that Thunderbird 1 can get through, which then allows that to go push something out the way, which then will unblock something so Thunderbird 2 can go along. You've got fuel to watch out. You can take a load of extra items with you at the start, which kind of are a bit weird. One of them looks like a penny farthing. I'm not quite sure what is going on at points in this game, so I think with some of the crazy stuff. You get to a certain point where about the third or fourth screen, you move up to the top, and suddenly you're in a weird screen where there's giant pharaohs walking back and forth, and you have to kind of avoid them. It all gets very, very strange and odd at times, this game. But, probably played a lot of these kind of games on your phone. You drag a block to move another block, to push another block up, to move that round, to do that there, and it's one of them. It's in a very early version of a block. Certain things can push certain things to allow certain things to get past, to allow a certain other thing to push that, and you both can then progress. And then it's working out that kind of puzzle as you progress. And as those kind of games go, it's all right. It's got its ubiquitous speech, I think, at the beginning, doesn't it? Where it goes, Thunderbirds are go, in the title screen. It's got a really, really quite long opening sequence where the Thunderbirds take off and you can't skip, which is a bit annoying. It's weird in that on that second screen, there's all that fuel dotted about, isn't there? But if you go backwards and come back on, all the fuel disappears and then renders the game very short because you run out of fuel immediately. I did that a few times.
Yep.
Because I didn't know it was fuel.
Yeah, you got like a whole fuel management feature of this, haven't you?
Yeah, so I didn't know it was fuel at first. I thought those kind of glowy things were going to kill me until I thought maybe I'm supposed to collect them. And then my fuel went up and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I did. It's all right. I didn't find it horrendous. It's just one of them kind of, it's a block sliding puzzler. Don't know. Did you get on with it? Did you find it all right? Or
it was rough around the edges. There's a playable game in there for the price. That's what I thought. Didn't like the graphics particularly. Didn't hate them, but they're not. They just lacked a bit of finishing and a bit of colorization. It just looked a bit basic.
Yeah, it did.
But the puzzles are quite intriguing. That said, and if you're going to stick with that and go for it and really try with the puzzles and move the blocks around, you're going to have a bit of fun with that. So it's okay. Didn't float my boat particularly. I prefer games that have a bit more to them than this. For the same reasons, I don't particularly like the Goonies game in the sense that once you know how to do something, you know how to do it. But there's enough here to have a go at, I suppose. And you can get. I'm not a big fan of the Thunderbirds, though. I have to say they don't hold a lot of fascination for me. I was never a big Thunderbirds fan, even in my youth. For me, it was superseded by Starfleet and by other stuff that was around when I was younger. And Thunderbirds is a bit before my time.
Yeah.
So a bit like Captain Scarlet and Joe 90 and all the other things that Jerry Anderson famously did with all of his puppets. And his puppetry was great, don't get me wrong. But I much preferred the ones that came later.
The water one? Stingray,
yeah. There's the whole slew of them, wasn't there? And then they disappeared for a while, and then they came back with that Terrorhawks, and obviously Starfleet was one that was made elsewhere in the world and just made famous by its bizarre Brian May release of the soundtrack to the
I don't remember that at all.
You can Google that and YouTube it. Is the version of Starfleet sung and performed by Brian May, and I could be wrong, but I think it might even be Eddie Van Halen. So anyway,
what
yeah.
What world is this?
You can YouTube that. If you YouTube the opening Starfleet song, Brian May became obsessed with it. Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about that. Long and the short of it is, I didn't like Thunderbirds. Playing a game that had Thunderbirds in didn't hold much interest for me. The puzzle's all right, but it bypassed me then. It bypassed me now. It was okay, but I wouldn't go back and play it. If you like Thunderbirds, give it a blast. But if you don't, just avoid it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got a bit of affinity for Thunderbirds. My brother I seem to remember my brother liking them and watching them on a Sunday afternoon. Parker and what was her name, Lady
Penelope.
So that, it was all right. I didn't mind. I like you said. I think you probably will get more out of this if you are into the Thunderbirds. You may, you'll find some affinity for it of controlling Thunderbird 1 and Thunderbird 2. And you can get the mole and things like that. And there are some references to the show, and there's bits and bobs. And if you like block sliding puzzles,
go for it.
You'll probably enjoy it. Yeah, you'll probably enjoy it because it's a relatively decent one of them. It's nothing major, but for what is it, £4?
For £4, Thunderbirds are go.
Thunderbirds are go, yeah. There you go, Thunderbirds, that's what we think. Thunderbirds are go indeed. Right, so that's that. That's our games for this one. Ballblazer, yes. Underworld, probably not. Imhotep, definitely not.
No.
And Thunderbirds, yeah, maybe.
If you like Thunderbirds. Yeah.
If you like Thunderbirds. So that's our games in this first section. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment with film and TV for January 1986. So stay with us. Thanks to our sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find audiobooks for just a few quid. Dave's feature book this week is Back in Time for a Donut, where Tara plots a way to get to her father's time machine so she can go back in time to stop her sister from wrecking Australia, plus meet the man of her dreams, who named his boat Jack Attack. The audiobook is available at Google Play, Apple Books, Audible, etc., or visit DavidHearnWriter.com to find out more.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello there, welcome back. This is the next part. So we're looking at film and TV for January 1986. What was going on? What delights did they have to entertain us with as we moved into a new year? Well, on the 1st of January, our New Year's Day highlights on BBC One included a Paul Young concert.
Oh dear. Did he have enough songs for that?
Clearly, I don't know.
Just he keeps playing the same song over and over again. Every time you go.
Oh, I was going to say Wherever I Lay My Hat. So he's obviously got two. And also he's got Love of the Common People, whatever it is.
Yeah, yes.
It's a family man.
Yeah.
But it was a simulcast with BBC Radio 1. So that's what, we had that to look forward to. But British television were premieres. This is a Rocky podcast, by the way. British television premieres of Clash of the Titans and Rocky 2.
Oh, Clash of the Titans is a great film.
I'm not saying anything bad about Clash of the Titans.
And
I'm saying
Rocky
that's
2
what we
is
had
good.
to...
And they're two great films. What things to have as a premiere? You couldn't get more opposites, really. I suppose there's gladiatorial combat-ish things, but Clash of the Titans is a classic, and it's, Harryhausen's super movie. He directed that one, I think. So it's...
did he? I don't think he did,
I think it's Harryhausen directed Clash of Titans, yeah.
You sure? I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. And it's just, it's got the Kraken in it. It's one of my favourite monsters that he ever made. I mean, everyone likes the skeletons and everything, but the Kraken in that is just astonishing. And the attack on Joppa and all the things that happen. It's a great film. And of course, it has... take a moment. It's got Calibos in it.
It has got Calibos. Just to say it was directed by Desmond Davis.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I said.
Oh, yeah.
Ray Harryhausen. Which one did Ray Harryhausen direct? Because he did famously direct one, didn't he? And it wasn't...
I have no idea, but I don't think he did that. But yes, It has got Calibos. I'm looking at a picture of him right now.
Yes, Calibos.
Calibos.
Calibos. The TV program for kids that never was.
And also, as well, Calibos also, strangely enough, appeared in a Kylie Minogue video. Driving her around in the I Should Be So Lucky video.
He does.
Just look at the I Should Be So Lucky video with the video where it's Kylie Minogue being driven around Sydney and the driver has a particular resemblance to Calibos. Which is a weird thing. He really
Absolutely does.
It's so much so that I remember taking a picture of my TV screen and sending it to you.
You did. Because as you know, for some reason, the character of Calibos is quite... And it's actually these weird links between the two films, isn't there? Because am I right in thinking...
Calibos and Rocky 2?
Yeah, well, no, Clash of the Titans and Rocky 2, you would never put those two films together, except isn't one of the characters in Clash of the Titans in Rocky 2? Doesn't he play
It's
Mickey?
isn't it? Yeah, it's Mickey.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Yeah, because he plays the. Does he play the guy who makes the owl?
No, because the owl's made by.
That's made by
the gods,
It's,
isn't it?
it's
He's the guy that helps Perseus when he wakes up because he gets moved, doesn't he? And he gets moved into the arena, and he lives in an old arena, and he tries to scare him off a bit like Obi-Wan does. He kind of makes a big noise and hoo-ha, and then it turns out it's just some old guy with a cloak, and Perseus befriends him. And then when Zeus leaves all the weapons, that's it. And when Zeus leaves all the weapons for Perseus as a gift to sort of help him fight, because he's kind of been moved there by who's the queen? I can't remember the queen of the gods who moves him because she's peeved at Zeus for morphing her son into Calibos.
Maggie Smith as Thetis.
Maggie Smith's character. Thetis, so the goddess Thetis. He's angry at Zeus, and that's where because obviously Perseus is Zeus's son. And so she transmutes him by magical powers, the power of green screen or blue screen, I guess, by then. And he wakes up in the middle of nowhere, not knowing where he is or whatever. And then Zeus leaves him the shield and the sword and the helmet, which makes him invisible and all that cool stuff. I absolutely love Clash of Titans. I love it.
It's better than the remake.
It is better than the remake, and that tells you something about it. You know, it's got Ursula Andress in it as I mean, come on, this cast is amazing in that film.
She's Aphrodite, isn't she?
She's Aphrodite. It's got who's it who plays Zeus?
Laurence Olivier,
that's right. It's just what an amazing cast is in that film. It's mind-blowing.
Harry Hamlin is Perseus. Yeah,
it's one of the greats, and it features Medusa, which the Medusa scene in that film is one of the best.
Yeah, I love the Medusa scene.
That sort of is it what they call the animation style? Stop frame animation, isn't it?
Yeah,
the Medusa sequence in that. And I mean, he came and did a speech, didn't he, Harryhausen in Grimsby many moons ago?
He did, yes, at our school, in fact.
Yes, and it was just mad that even happened. And he had some of those models from those films, and one of them was the Medusa model.
He did, yeah. Just
amazing. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go super superlative.
That's all right. That's all right. I like Clash of the Titans.
I actually went to see that with my brother in a cinema in Cleethorpes when they had a cinema in Cleethorpes. It shows you how long ago that was. And it was a weird double bill with something else because there was always double bills in that weird cinema down Grimsby Road, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And so I'm lucky enough to have seen Clash of the Titans in a cinema, which is to this day is amazing that I did that.
I saw it at the cinema as well. My brother took me as well.
Just lucky because you take it for granted now, but it blew my mind at that age to see that. It's just mind blowing anyway.
Yeah.
Rocky 2?
Rocky 2's good.
It is good. You can't argue with the first 4 Rocky movies.
Well, let's let's leave Rocky. We're going to talk about the Rocky films in a bit. We're going to come to Rocky. So Rocky 2 we'll just leave for the moment. But Clash of Titans, great. 2nd of January, I found this a bit weird. A special edition. Now, see if you can see the weirdness here. A special edition of Tomorrow's World travels back a century.
Oh.
To discover the latest developments in science and technology from 1886. It's not tomorrow then, is it?
So shouldn't it be Yesterday's World?
You would have thought so, yeah. They'll have an episode called Yesterday's World, yeah. So that was weird. That was the 2nd of January.
I bet it was a short programme where they were like, nothing was invented in 1886. Nothing.
No, nothing apart from probably some... One, was it a couple of years later? I can't remember. Was it 1886 Jack the Ripper? I can't remember.
No, I wouldn't feature on Tomorrow's World, would it?
Well, it's Yesterday's World.
Yes, in Yesterday's World, the best invention was Jack the Ripper. How was that an invention? Serial killers were invented.
Well, they were taking pictures of the people's eyes, weren't they, to see if the last image was on them.
Oh, they did weird stuff like that back then, didn't they?
Yeah, they used to take photographs of the victim's eyes to see if it captured the last image of the thing they saw, see if they could see the killer on them.
I prescribed this patient 6 bottles of laudanum. That should help him out. He'll be spaced out for the next 7 months and he'll talk gibberish, but he'll be well in the end of that.
And put leeches on his wang.
Not that many.
All the leeches.
Don't waste the leeches. We can't reuse them after that.
Oh, they're so full of blood. Anyway, 12th of January. This is a good one. ITV airs the game show Catchphrase for the first time.
God, that's still going as well.
Everyone loves a bit of Mr. Chips.
It's still going, Catchphrase.
It is still going.
Was it Roy Walker right from the beginning?
I'm pretty sure it was Roy Walker from the beginning, yeah. Say what you see. Yeah,
it must have been. Is he still alive, Roy Walker? I guess he must be. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be.
I don't know. I'm not going to actually say anybody's alive or dead anymore on this show because I just get it wrong.
But either way, it was because it's now... is
Roy
it Bradley
Walker
Walsh?
To me sort of thing. I'm just going to refer to people as like Schrodinger's people, because I don't know if they were both... To me, they're both alive and dead.
But he was famous for his little, you're right, when people got it, didn't they?
It was. There was a brilliant episode of Catchphrase, which I saw once, where the clue was lots of hay, the word haze, in a stack.
So haystack.
Haystack. And it was in the thing at the end, you know, when they were trying to get the big prize at the end. And this woman just kept going, hey, 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 hey. She just kept saying the word hey, like she got stuck in some loop. And then like the time ran out and Roy Walker was like on her shoulder, literally. And he just went, haystack! Right in her ear, and she's like, it's an amazing bit of telly. I just remember laughing my head off at it because he was obviously so annoyed that she couldn't see that it was haystack.
When they can't get it. I mean, I've seen a few of those when they're blatantly obvious, and you find yourself like almost shouting at the screen, thinking, "Come on, this isn't rocket science here." I remember seeing one that was the answer was clearly a flock of seagulls. Which is kind of obvious what it was. And he was going, birds in flight, flight of the birds, birds in the air birds. And it's just like, just honestly, and you're like, how can you not see that that's a seagull in a flock of them? How can you not get that? And like Mr. Chips is pointing at him. It's like, honestly, it's just stupid.
Catchphrase is great for that kind of, it's great when the contestant just cannot see it. And
When
they're
they
just
get
like,
brain lock, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, and that's what happened to this woman. All she could say was the word hey.
Or when they come up with blatant sort of catchphrases that can't possibly be catchphrases. No,
Yes.
It'll be that competition one where they get that. They go, it'll be like walking through the moon maze. You're like, what? No, it's not that. It's just that doesn't make any sense. When they just come up with blatant non-things, it's just like
Catching balls on a trampoline.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, no,
it's like
that's
you know
not
it's right. No,
that's not a catchphrase.
balloon man. It's like no, it's goodness me, just stop. Balloon man. No, it's just honestly, it's just
Stickman circle balloon. When have you ever said that? Ever?
yeah, exactly. So that famous catchphrase, yeah, stickman circle balloon. Oh yeah, no. So it does have its appeal, but you know, it's still going to this day. So it must have struck a chord. I think it's one of those. Did we invent that and took it to America, or did America invent that and bring it to us? Because there was that. This period was rife with a lot of that, wasn't it? We borrowed loads of American
The
game
big one
shows.
I remember us borrowing was The Price is Right, wasn't it?
Prices. Oh, it's awful. The Price is Right. Really
But,
awful.
you know, but that's the one. But you can tell because that's very American. Because that's like, guess how much this is.
Yeah, totally. And when they shout their name and they're running down the stairs and all that, and bad.
Anyway, that's catchphrase. 17th of January, BBC One aired a feature-length episode of US soap Dynasty that sets up the storyline ready for the spin-off series Dynasty 2, The Colbys, which began on the 24th of January. And can you guess what was on the 24th of January?
I would like to guess at the British debut of...
Actually, no, it was Stickman Balloon Stickman Balloon Circle.
Man walking on a plank.
It was the British television debut of Dynasty 2, The Colbys. That was your highlight.
Blimey, right. I didn't like Dynasty at all. I didn't like Dallas, so I didn't like Dynasty. They're not my thing. Not my thing at all.
No, the only thing I liked about Dallas, I liked the opening credits.
Yeah, where it's sort of...
Lots of shots of
Texas. Texas, you know, steaks on a barbecue. Steers.
High-rise buildings.
Yeah. Then, yeah, like wink, hey. Whereas Dynasty was, wasn't it? It was the shots of big Georgian houses and big estates, and then Blake Carrington would drive up in a limousine and go, hello. And well, he didn't do that because he's, but that kind of thing.
I really hope he did, though. I'm going to watch it now. And then there was
hello.
And there was the lesser known Falcon's Crest.
Oh, God, yeah, Falcon's Crest. I don't think that lasted long, did it?
I think it lasted a while. Then there was obviously, do you remember what the spin-off to Dallas was?
I don't. Was it Bobby's Bearings?
No, Knots Landing, I think.
Oh, Knots Landing. Was that? I don't know. They're all connected, aren't they? In some
yeah,
weird,
because that was. I think it was Ken. I think.
Yeah,
it was Ken Ewing.
That's
Ken
right.
Ewing.
Yeah, the Ewings. Yeah, and J.R. Ewing.
Or maybe it was Cliff. Was it Cliff? No, it was Cliff Barnes.
Cliff Claiborne or Barnes.
Let's not talk about Dynasty and Dallas.
No, end of line.
That's it. So that's your TV. So you can listen to Paul Young and watch Catchphrase and Clash of the Titans. Films-wise, obviously quiet for the first couple of weeks because no one's going to the cinema because it's January and no one's got any money. But in 17th of January, we had King Solomon's Mines, which is the Indiana Jones rip-off. Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone, if I remember right.
It is, yeah, it is. It is basically poor man's Indiana Jones, that.
It is. It was better than its sequel, which was Alan Quatermain and the Lost Cities of Gold or something.
That's right, yeah.
It was all right. King Solomon's Mines, I remember watching that when I was younger. And it was
Indiana Jones light. It wasn't quite as gruesome as Indiana Jones. No heads were exploding or people getting stabbed through the throat in that one. Remember, it's PG, by the way.
Richard Chamberlain was no Harrison Ford, was he?
No, I remember him from the Thornbirds and unfortunately from Shogun. TV series Shogun.
I remember him as being one of the Three Musketeers.
He was. He was also in The Man of the Iron Mask as well.
He was, yes.
And The Count of Monte Cristo, not The Count of Monte Fisto. That's
which
coming.
Which we're going to come to in a moment.
Which we're going to come to soon.
It is indeed. Because 23rd of January, I have no idea what this is, but there was Death in a French Garden.
I think it's a catchphrase film.
Say what you see.
Death in a French Garden. You're right! Just Mr. Chips falls over in a garden with a French flag behind him.
No, this is 1986 sort of thing. So if it was, he would have a striped top on with a garlic string of garlic around his neck, a beret, and holding a baguette.
Yeah, and it'd go. Say what you see. Death in a French Garden. You're right.
That great film. I don't know who it's by. It's probably I don't know.
Jean-Luc Besgodardon. It would be
probably one of them. Probably one of them.
Jean-Luc Picard made it.
But we've got, we've talked about Rambo, First Blood Part 2. Now we've got the other one. 24th of January, we've got Rocky 4. Now, I watched Rocky 4 literally just before this podcast. So I'm fresh on a Rocky tip. And actually what I did was I watched the last 20 minutes of Rocky 3 first. So I watched the last 20 minutes of Rocky 3 straight into Rocky 4. Okay.
Good idea.
I've always thought Rocky 4 is such a strange old film. Everyone knows what the Rocky films are. The Rocky films 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the rise to stardom of Rocky Balboa, a boxer from nowhere in the first film. He's just a local boxer in Philadelphia who gets randomly selected to fight Apollo Creed, who's the reigning champion of the world. And, it's just supposed to be a sort of pick someone and beat him up sort of thing. But he goes the distance and becomes a celebrity and goes on from there. The first film is very different. The first film is very much a character piece. It's Stallone's writing that. Second film, kind of in the middle somewhere of what this would go on to become. And so by Rocky 3, it becomes a bit more of a, I don't know, for Rocky 3 is more of a sort of the story of like when you have it all and then lose it and sort of and coming to terms with his own mortality almost sort of thing. So I watched it from the bit where she's giving him the talk on the beach and he's like, I'm afraid, that's what I am, I'm afraid. Do you want to hear me say it? And it's like, I was sat there going, oh, poor Rocky.
Well, he loses his manager in Rocky 3, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, yeah. So it's the loss of everything. So it's, and I've always thought of Rocky 4 as just a really weird film because Rocky 4, in and of itself, Rocky 4, there's barely any film there.
No, there isn't. It's all montage, that one.
It's 90 minutes and it's most of it. This is, we're into 1986. This is almost like a poster child for 1986. It's a film made for MTV because it's got, numerous musical tracks in it. So it's got James Brown, Survivor, there's all kinds of stuff in this. And then there's the training theme. There's 2 training sequences.
There is.
For Christ's sake. One after the other. But if you take, and I always think something, because the start of Rocky 4, you have the end of Rocky 3, then you have a scene where Adrian's brother, Paulie, gets given a cake by a robot.
I hate that robot.
I'm not making it up. Then you have Apollo Creed seeing Ivan Drago on the telly. He speaks to Rocky and says, I want to fight him. They have the press conference and then they have a fight. That's it. There's no preamble. There's no character nonsense. Apollo Creed Boilers comes to a bad end. There's a funeral. Rocky says to Adrian, I've got to go fight him because I'm a fighter. And she's like, He goes to Russia. Oh, yeah, no, he has a bit of a drive and remembers everything from the past.
He's got his montage in his car with the sad music.
He has his montage in his car where he remembers all the other films.
Face.
Yeah, he has all the bits from all the other films, sort of thing. So that's a nice sort of cozy 3-4 minutes where they didn't have to film anything. And then he goes off to Russia, has 2 training sequences, and then there's a fight. That's it. It's literally, I don't understand this film, but when I watched it today sort of thing, I made the connection that this film needs to be seen as the culmination of the first 4 Rocky films. And so you don't need that characterization because you've got his character from the first 3 films. And in and of itself, the film is a weirdness, but it doesn't need it because what do you need to know about Rocky that you don't already know from the first 3 films? And so it's not a film that, it's the, as you said, it's that he loses his mentor, he's down his depths in Rocky 3 and comes back up. But Rocky 4 is the triumphant return. And obviously, it's just weird. It's such a strange film. And yet, it's still absolutely amazing. I love those films. don't know, the bit in Rocky 4 where he punches Ivan Drago and it's, the Russians cut. It gets me every time. As you are with Rambo sort of thing, I think I am with the Rocky films. Whichever way Stallone does it sort of thing, he'll get you one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, I love I love the first 4 Rocky movies. I love them. The fact that Stallone has such involvement with them as well, in terms of, I think he wrote them. I think he has a lot to do with them. It's not just him playing Rocky. He has a lot to do with them in terms of the production of them. I'm pretty
sure he won an Oscar for the first one for the best screenplay or best story.
It's a great film. Without going into all the lineage of it all, it's that story of, it starts off, the whole thing is the story of a boxer that comes from nowhere and becomes very famous and remember that in the first movie, the fight with Apollo Creed doesn't go according to plan. And so in the second movie, there's kind of it's a rematch. And then the third one is about how he's lost his way and a new version of him, a much badder, meaner, angrier version of him comes along. And because he's become complacent and because he's fallen for the brouhaha, he doesn't know how to deal with it. Because he's basically confronting a version of himself, which he's not prepared for. And of course, then he can't be prepared because obviously then, he has that fight. He's doing silly show stuff. Is it Thunderlips is in the third movie, I believe?
Yeah, it's the Hulk Hogan one,
Hulk Hogan's Thunderlips. And so there's all that. So Rocky 4 comes along and I completely agree with you. You don't need, you just need to have got an idea that it's about a boxer and you can watch Rocky 4 and enjoy it. The fact that it's that massive interplay of, Russia as the big enemy, they send their biggest, baddest, nuclear missile-looking dude to come. And, there's a great moment when they're stood toe-to-toe in the ring. And Ivan Drago, and it's Dolph Lundgren, isn't it? He is massive. He towers over Stallone. I mean, he's a good foot higher. He's tall. He's giant. And you get that idea of this David and Goliath thing. The interplay, it's got the silly moments in it where, they're training him like a robot, aren't they? Because Russians are all robotic, cheaty, because they even inject steroids, a druggy, cheaty Russian dude,
Yeah, exactly.
And it's got Bridget Nielsen, isn't it, as his kind of trainer, and they're just showing off, he can punch with 3 million square pounds per inch and all that kind of stupid stuff and all that. It's all meaningless. What you're waiting for is the fight at the end. And, the training montage, which in this one is the best one of the lot by miles. Because, it's that, I love that way it flips. So Ivan Drago is training in the super technical camp, but in the US, whereas Rocky goes to Russia and, he just jogs up a mountain, works out in a barn with chains and just, for some reason, it really appeals to me, that.
Fair play to Stallone. He does those dragon flags when he's like up on his shoulders, just up. It's like, ow. I've tried one of them and I was like, I wasn't moving for a week. In my when I used to go to the gym days, I thought I'll try one of them, and I was done for about a week. I was like, oh, my stomach.
And the music in the film is great. There's a bit of everything in it. It's got the follow-on song from Survivor. So they famously did "Eye of the Tiger" for Rocky 3, and Rocky 3, by the way, is a tough nut to beat because Rocky 3 for me is such a great start to finish Rocky movie. And, it's like, and the best thing about these films is you don't need to have seen the previous one just to get it. It's a boxer who faces challenges, some of them internal, mostly to do with the fact that he's got to get some kind of validation from his girlfriend to go and smash his fucking head in. Oh, pardon my language. And he goes, yeah, I will do that. And then that's when he goes and does it. And that kind of become the theme. So what's not to like about it? And that fight at the end of this is great. It's just bizarre, because it's not even it's not a actual boxing match in the terms that there's a belt at risk, is there?
No.
They're just doing a show fight because they can do a show fight, and he wants revenge for that sequence where he kills Apollo Creed. Even now, I watch it and I find it horrifying.
It is brutal, yeah.
It is brutal, and it's so well played by Carl Weathers. Because he is just cocky and, I'm not going to show this chump what it's all about. And he turns into the kind of the Clubber Lang character in that terms of cockiness. And you're just thinking, even you're watching it going, you're underestimating this guy. And, when it's showing him, punching him with all this power, and you think, and when he starts in the ring, when he starts punching him and you're watching him and he has that look in his eyes. Oh, it's such a good film. Everyone should go and watch the Rocky movies. You should watch them. Watch them one after another because they're great films. There isn't a boring moment in Rocky 4.
No,
there isn't.
The only thing I don't like after watching it today, sort of thing, I still not on board with I don't like the speech at the end. If I could change, but we could change. Everyone can change.
Yeah, just, everyone be friends. And I never really liked the Paulie character, and he becomes a weird parody in the third and the fourth movie. It becomes weird. It goes from being a drunken, violent brother of the Rocky's
Adrian,
girlfriend, who, and a difficult person in the film who's kind of looking out for his sister, but doesn't trust Rocky, and it goes from that, and he is a kind of fully fleshed out character there, to being some kind of weird sidekick to a robot. It's weird. His character makes a really weird transition of arc that makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, and the inclusion of the robot in Rocky 4 is one of the weirdest things.
It's a stupid
especially when it turns up later sort of thing, and he's turned it into this sexy robot. It's like, how would you do that? You don't know anything about. How can you reprogram a robot? What do you know about robots?
I don't know why it's there. I'm guessing it's just,
I don't know. Well, that's the thing with Rocky 4 is that there are moments within it sort of thing that do stick out and don't fit. That's one of them. Anything with his son is all just a bit off the chart sort of thing. But Rocky 4 is like the apotheosis. It's a reflection of, because Rocky 3 was about what, 82?
Yeah,
it's quite early, so it's 82, 83. And this is like obviously 3-4 years later. I get the impression sort of thing that they were just like, oh, we just need another Rocky film. It's only 90 minutes long, and as we both said, about 45 minutes of it is montage, and about another 20 minutes of it is the fight at the end. So there's barely any film there, but it's kind of, it feels like I said, it feels like the perfect synergy of MTV Hollywood. This feels like the sort of, what would go on to be something like, I don't know, something like Days of Thunder or something. This feels like almost the first steps along there. It's almost like, we don't need plot. We don't need that. All we need is we need flashy sequences, lots of music, a character we recognise, and do that, and have a big fight at the end. And also just throw in, because just make them Russian. Everyone hates the Russians.
Yes. There's a lot of Russian bashing in this film.
Yeah, it feels like everything that's going on in the world and in sort of entertainment and politics and everything is just crammed into that 90 minutes in a series of montages. It's the weirdest thing. And it really, really, really in no way, shape or form should work as well as it does.
No.
But somehow it does.
It does. It's just one of the great films. It's a good film to have in January, because everyone's a bit bored and a bit post-Christmas, and at the end of January, everyone needs a bit of an uplift, and there it is. Let's go and watch Giant Russian get his head beaten up. So what's not to like about that? In the 80s, we all hated the Russians for no reason, really, that we were just fed a load of lies. I don't know how soon or after Chernobyl this is, a few years after Chernobyl, so the Russians weren't exactly flavour of the month with everybody at this particular time. And
I think it's before Chernobyl, isn't
it? I don't know. I can't remember when Chernobyl was. I don't know where it all fits in, but either way, the Russians were not popular, and they were almost the enemy in almost everything at this point. This predates when it all changed, of course, and they became enemies of different nationalities and terrorist organisations. But at this point, all guns were firing from Russia, and it was all World War III.
Yeah.
We've spoken about all that many times, and this is another extension with an ironic twist at the end. And it's like, why can't we all just be friends? It's like, you just beat a guy to death.
Yeah.
All right. And he killed Apollo Creed. He didn't just hurt him, he killed him. God damn it.
It did. If he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies.
And obviously, and also the representation of Gorbachev standing up and applauding at the end and everything as well.
Yeah.
The Politburo all standing up and going, yes, well done, well done, well said, young man.
Well done, Ski. Well done, Ski.
Have him killed. Have the Rolling Stones killed.
This does feature brilliant not Russia in this film as well. When he flies into Russia, and it's clearly not Russia. It's just an airport with a bizarre Russian
flag.
And they don't speak Russian. They speak gibberishy Russian. So it's like Borotska Maldutska Maraska.
That was the other thing I noticed as well, is that none of the Russians in it look happy.
No, they're not allowed to be happy, are they?
They're not allowed to be happy. The Russians are a very sad and dour race sort of thing. The only ones that look happy is the one where when his cart falls over in the snow and Stallone Rocky helps him with his cart to right it.
You can't beat US heart. It's all, you can't beat a guy with a heart like Rocky with all the technology in the world, you Russian technologists.
Yeah,
with your fast roasters and your rumble seats.
Yeah, this gave me an opportunity to watch Rocky 4 again, so I've not watched it in a while sort of thing. But as I said, I started Rocky 4, and as soon as Rocky 4 starts and it's midway through the fight with Club Lang, I was like, you know what, I need to watch the end of Rocky 3 as well. I'm surprised I didn't watch the end. I just didn't have time. But I love the fight with Club Lang because it's so quick. It's 3 rounds. Quick.
Yeah,
which is ace. And he just does him. He's like he just batters him. Oh, I just love the Rocky films. He just batters. Listen to me talking about it. It's scripted, ding, you idiot.
Ding.
It's scripted.
Yeah, it's not real boxing.
Yeah.
It's you know what it does do for me forever because of the Rocky films. It sets up every boxing match I've gone in to watch, whether it's pay-per-view. I mean, obviously the most recent one, eventually when it happens, will be Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. I'll be pay-per-viewing the shit out of that, let me tell you. But I go into these things thinking, yes, it's going to be, and it's never as exciting as a Rocky movie. I'm like, oh. It's just, don't get me wrong, incredible sportsmanship and all of that. I'm not taking it
That's
away from any of
because
the boxing skill.
every
but
fight in a Rocky film would have been stopped about 10 rounds earlier by the ref.
Absolutely.
Going, you're not fighting anymore.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
are
yeah.
not fight. Look at you.
You're bleeding in ways we didn't even think was possible. You're bleeding out of his head. Get out of here.
Yeah. So there's no way. Like this. Yeah. It just wouldn't.
Contrary to popular myth, they don't take razor blades to their boxers' cheeks and pop their eyeballs, and so that they can. I can't see, Mickey. You can't see my eyes. Like that's the least of your worries, mate. Your face has gone slightly to the east. your face has been punched sideways, literally.
You've turned in a rotofoil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Was your jaw sticking that far out? Because it's anyway.
Anyway, Rocky IV, great film.
Go see it.
And yeah, just watch it because they are great. But
I might have to get the Rocky movies on the big Blu-ray box set they've got out, and that'd be worth
it. Well, Rocky V.
Well, you don't have to watch it, do you? It's just part of the box sets.
You do. Yeah.
There's a few films like that.
Let's move on. There we go. Films and TV. So some good stuff there. Paul Young, Tomorrow's World, Catchphrase, Dynasty.
There's so much.
King Solomon's Mines, Clash of the Titans, and Rocky, the Rocky films, obviously. So, it was all going on. We had loads going on.
Go see, go do.
Absolutely. Right, enjoy. Right, so we'll be back in a moment with our last set of games from this month's crop. So please stay with us.
Shout out to our sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find bargain books and audiobooks. Dave's feature book is Back in Time for a Donut, where Tara will go back in time to fight for climate change, as well as turning the tables on her sister. Tara must get her lips around the donut of her dreams. Audiobook available at Google Play, Apple Books, Audible, and other cool places. Visit DavidHearnWriter.com to find out more. Dave's podcast pick is Ballblazer, more fun and less painful than it sounds.
All right, welcome back to our last set of games. We've got 4 more to go through, Crapverts chats, and then we're done. Yeah, no more from us. We'll be done with us. We're gone. We're out of here. What's our first game? Our first game this section, Dynamite Dan. Dynamite Dan. It's another one of them. Brian Bloodaxe, Manic Miner, Bounty Bob. Alliterative platformers.
Yep.
Alliterative platformers.
We did Crapvert this one, didn't we? And complained bitterly that the eye in Dynamite wasn't a stick of dynamite. Or at least I did.
We
actually,
said that.
It was more.
So, okay. What's Dynamite Dan? This got rated quite highly, didn't it?
80%.
80%. It's $7.95, so not the full caboodle that they normally charge. This is some kind of spy spoof, Jet Set Willy knockoff, is what I've written. I think kind of sums it up. You start off at the top of a mansion. You've got to go around this mansion and foil this evil scientist's plans by collecting. Is it
Dr. Blitzen? You mean
Dr. Blitzen? Look, I didn't look at the names. I'm very sorry. So you've got to go around and you've got to collect, is it 5 bits of dynamite, 4 bits of dynamite, 8 bits of dynamite? You've got to collect some dynamite. And once you've collected all the dynamite, you got to blow it up. Essentially, that's it. It's Jet Set Willy. There are some little bits of, freeform exploration in the Jet Set Willy mold. You can go from wherever you want. You're not sort of set in a route. So there's slight sort of openness to it. Not Metroidvania-ish totally, but it's a little bit in that style. The sense of humour, it almost works. It's not terrible. I've read worse, like Brian Bloodaxe. And it's okay. There's some nice touches. I like the fact that you have a number of lives, which kind of act like energy. And when you get hit, you don't reset to the start of the screen. You just kind of carry on, but you lose one of your energy lives or whatever you want to call them. And that enemy that you hit is also destroyed. So that's quite good because it's like so many of these games, you get hit, you're back at the start of the screen, and it's like, oh, God, okay, I've got to manage my way through all that again. The sprites are quite nice. This is a conversion from the Spectrum game. At least they've actually taken the time to do something with some of the visuals. The Dynamite Dan sprite is quite nicely animated and he's quite well drawn. He's not your typical single colour sprite that probably would have been on the Spectrum maybe. I don't know really what else to say about this. It just felt to me like another Jet Set Willy type thing. I don't know if there's more to it that I wasn't finding. There are trampolines which you can bounce on. There's some, there seems some innovations in there, but it just really is another Jet Set Willy type thing. we're 2 years on from Jet Set Willy, aren't we, at this point? Mm-hmm. These games are just not for me. I don't get on with them. People may love them. Obviously, Zapped liked it. They were quite enamored with it and some of the things that it was doing. But to me, I just felt my time spent with it was just time I would have rather been doing something else. It's just not for me. I'm fed up with these games. I'm just really, really fed up. And maybe that's the problem with me. Maybe there is more to this. But even if I'd have been playing it at the time, and I do remember playing it this time, I didn't play it much. Because I played Jet Set Willy and I played them others. What did you think? Did you get on with it? Did you enjoy it?
It was colourful and graphics were quite colourful, and it is just another one of them. We've said so many times we could record it. It's just another one of them. It's an arcade puzzler / more of a platformer really, but collect them up. I'm just
fed up with screens full of nonsense.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just screen full of sometimes difficult to avoid random stuff. And you have to jump over it, collect the dynamite, blow up the safe, get the plans, and then get back to your airship. Did I enjoy it? No more than I enjoy playing any other game of this type. I don't dig them. I draw the line at things like Monty on the Run, which, because of the music and the pace, is kind of interesting. But this one it's graphically quite nice in its own way. It's got a nice look to it. But if the best you can say about a game is it's colourful, really. And I found the music was just on the cusp of being annoying. Okay, it was borderline. So, I know, we've played so many of these games. It's difficult now to really differentiate one from another. They kind of blur into one. And so what you're doing is you're playing them, trying to think, well, what's the thing about this one that's marginally better than the other ones? And the truth is, this is, if you like these kind of games where we have to wander around a location, finding objects that are obfuscated by difficult to avoid random items of furniture or God knows what else, and whatever they may be, you'll probably find something to do in this, and it might keep you occupied for a while. But there are £3 equivalents, finders keepers and stuff like that, or £2, whatever that was. That it's the same kind of game, same kind of logic. Just running around collecting things. Go and get a cheaper one. Work your way up to this. If that's your bag, it's not mine. So I played it for a bit, wandered around a bit. Thought, you know what? I'm going to go and play something else. So
yeah,
I did.
Yeah, that's what I felt. It was just. I couldn't. Like I said, I'm just fed up of screens of gibberish.
Yeah,
and I think it's the visual equivalent of of just reading. Isn't this wacky? Isn't this funny? Isn't all these ideas? And it's like okay, there's two cannons moving left and right. Why?
Yeah.
There's no sense to any of this. And it's like, I get it, the video game, so you can kind of do what you want, but yeah.
Well, the thing is, if you think about a game like Mario, right? Mario World, that could be a game that's just full of random stuff to avoid, but each thing in there has a purpose.
Yes.
And each thing in there has a reason to be, and has a little bit of life of its own where required. And that's how to do it. If you just fill a game full of endless, annoying, difficult objects that have no meaning or purpose in that world, you may as well, it's just arbitrary. It just makes the game feel arbitrary. The reason Mario games work, even though some of those they're not collect-em-ups, but the reason they work in the way that they do is because everything in that world is part of that world in one way or another and has a bit of the world and has something to do with it. Everything.
And let's not forget, we are 4 months down the line from Super Mario Brothers now.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just, they have an idea of that these flick screen collectors, these collector arcade puzzlers, whatever you want to call them, these Jet Set Willys, all these games, there's a market for them. Everyone likes them. The truth of the matter was, not everybody did. So thankfully, there's other games out in this issue that are way better to go and play, because there's a risk at a certain time when almost every game was one of these. I mean, we've reviewed at least 2 or 3 of these every single episode. And there's none of them offer anything, none of them, with very rare exceptions, offer anything really that new to the collect-em-up genre. There's every now and again you'll get one with better music or the graphics are slightly better, but the idea and the principle of the game never really changes. And you either like that or you don't. But it seems to me that there must be more to do with this kind of thing. But, it is what it is, right? So you either like it or you don't. It's Dynamite Dan's just another one of those. It could be anything. It's just a premise that's attached to a game style now.
Yeah, it could be Flappy Fred.
Well, it could be. It doesn't matter. The story and the things they put on it, it's just, you could just have a generic, you play generic character who has to enter generic location to collect generic things to save the day from generic baddie. And on the way, you will encounter generic things that will block you and kill you because of the generic nature of this game. We can say no more. Enjoy the generic cover.
Jumpy Jack.
Yeah, Jumpy Jack. No, Bobby Biscuits.
I'm surprised. Do you know what? Do you know what this has actually made me realise? Is that I'm amazed we got a motorbike game out of Clumsy Colin.
Yes, actually, yeah. But weren't you wandering around on a motorbike collecting things, even if it was isometric?
Yeah, but at least but I'm thinking at least it wasn't a 2D platformer.
Yeah.
Clumsy Colin is already alliterated.
Yeah,
it seems
true.
What we call Ernest Eric.
And Dynamite Dan implies that the character is about dynamite. He has something to do with dynamite. Not that you have to go and collect dynamite. That's not Dynamite Dan, because he's collecting dynamite. He doesn't have it on him. So he's not,
That's
he's
true.
not, it shouldn't be. It should be absence of Dynamite Dan. I'm not Explodey Dan. I haven't got any explosives on me. I've got to collect him in order to get this through his game. I'm just, plain old Dan.
Yeah.
No, which would not be a major selling point of the game if they just called it plain old Dan. He's actually nothing.
Dan.
Yeah, Dan, the game. What do you have to do? Call it Dynamite. Why do you call it Dynamite Dan? Because he doesn't have it yet. And we're sticking to the rules of game names.
So we're calling it
Dan.
Dan collects dynamite.
Yeah, exactly. And this is Brian. Why isn't it Brian Bloodaxe? He doesn't have the Bloodaxe yet. He doesn't get that till 3 layers in. So sorry.
At what point is that miner manic?
Well, yes. Why is he manic miner? Is he a miner? Why is he a miner? Is it in a mine? Do mines feature armchairs and...
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is what I mean. I'm fed up of gibberish. I'm fed up of screen gibberish.
Well, Monty Python seems to be a little bit of... They don't have that, but it is a bit of a golden thread. I'm not saying Monty Python specifically, but the idea of the absurd that Monty Python presented in that absurdity is the golden thread with all of these stupid games.
And it's like, I understand. Obviously, it's 8-bit and you can only do so much with the sprites, and so, making them... But think of other ways. They could be pillars that are moving up and down on chains. God damn it, I want some realism.
Crabs. There are not enough crabs. More crabs in games, please.
Yeah, but crabs moving back and forth won't kill me.
Hey, you have not met the kind of crabs that are out there. It's a dangerous world with the crabs.
That's true, actually.
Well, we made a crab game.
Because that's true. Especially those ones with massive claws. One massive claw, the crab that's on the side of bins.
Yes,
bin crabs.
fiddler crabs, yes.
Oh, not bin crabs. How about bin crabs?
No, not bin crabs.
Crabby bins.
No. Good old Crabby Bins. He was a character in the film that we saw. Isn't he Rocky?
I think he was. Crabby Bins.
The next boxer you'll be fighting, Rocky, is Crabby Bins.
He's a bit clory.
I don't want to fight Crabby Bins, Mickey.
He's a clory. He's a pincher. He's a real pincher.
He's a pincher. You better watch his left hook. He's got a claw.
I ain't not fighting no lobster, Mickey.
He likes to go round you sideways.
He's not a lobster. You damn fool. That's my impression of Paulie. I can't do very good
What
Paulie.
was that?
That was Paulie, but he kind of merged into the boss gangster from Casino for some reason.
Good Lord. Oh, look what Dynamite Dan has done to us.
Yes,
no more
exactly.
gibberish in these bloody games.
Dynamite don't, as I think is the... Well, it's 80% though. What was that thinking of? I don't know.
I know. Dynamite don't indeed. Yes. Right, let's move on to our next game.
Oh, God.
Which is Willow Pattern. Graham, tell us all about the wonders of Willow Pattern.
Do you know, this goes down for me as the stupidest game idea of all time. A game based on kitchenware. Crockery. It is. That's exactly what it is. It's a game based on crockery.
Not on crockery.
Not on crockery. It is. It's a game based. It is. So it's the entire game is based around the Willow pattern that was the pattern design used on kitchenware in the 18th century, and it's meant to be this kind of fairy tale type story, and it depends. Now, nobody ever really. There's an entire story that the pattern on the plate is a depiction of a quote unquote ancient story about, I think it's somebody called Chang who was in love with somebody called Kung Shi, and without going into all sorts of things, two people are in love, stuff happens, and there's problems, and it's just go and buy a plate. They're about 25p off any car boot sale, and just look at the image on it. You'll see at the top there's two people, one with looks like a yo-yo, and the bottom right there's two doves, because at some point they get changed into doves and fly happily ever after. Long story. I will actually the story for it. There is the official story for that. And I will put this official story on the website to save me having to go through it, because I don't really want to have to talk about this game any much longer than I really need to. The game itself is a side-scrolling maze game based on the Willow pattern of a plate. So, and the graphics are also based off the kind of look and feel. So it's blue and white, porcelain-looking graphics. Side on, you control Chang, and you've got to enter the palace and find the key, I think. to rescue the princess, and there's stuff getting in your way, and you've got a limited number of swords, and da-da-da-da-da-da. You get the idea. So, cut to the chase. Is it any good? No. No, because it's based on a plate. So, no, it's not good.
Not on crockery.
And I can only imagine that the game. This is, I reckon, the same game designer who got a packet of crisps. They were like, are you the guy that made that game based on a packet of crisps? It's like, yeah, why? Do you reckon you could make a game out of that? And it'd be like, what? This plate? I want you to make a game based on this plate. And it'd be like, what do you mean? You know, look at the pattern and the plate tells a story. What story? Well, it's the story of Chang and Kung Shi. You mean you don't know that story? No, because nobody really knows it. Well, it's the Willow Pattern. Just make it up. Just have an arcade game where people are trying to get away from doves or, I don't know, yin-yang yo-yos. Just make it look kind of blue and white and porcelain-y. It's based on a plate, for God's sake. So this wins my award already in 1986 for the stupidest game idea ever. This is the worst of the best yet. Now, I thought, basing it on a crisp packet was a stupid idea, but this takes it to a whole new level. This is based off a pattern off a plate. Where do you go after that? Where do you go after that? Wallpaper?
Don't know.
Where do you go? No, this is a famous wallpaper pattern. Can you make a game out of that? Yes, I can do that. Yes. And then there'll be the paintings that we all had up in our youth. That one of the little crying boys stood crying and holding the teddy bear, that famous. There'll be a game. It'll be based. This poor guy who gets to make these games based on the stupidest stuff known to man is going to be like, well, I suppose I'd managed to make a game from a plate and a crisp packet. I feel reasonably adept at making. I can do other stuff. Anyway, I wax lyrical about something that is absolutely not worth it. So it's the worst game I've ever seen because it's based off a plate pattern, which is only really it tops the crisp packet. It's really weird. It just hurt my eyes. And I suppose if you like games that are based on plates, this is the game. If you like Willow Pattern and you're a collector, this is the final straw. This is, you can actually live the dream and play your pattern, figure it out. I didn't like that.
You can be Kang, or whatever his name is.
Do you know, and I think we did have Willow Pattern plates when I was a kid. So, and at no point in the whole of my life have I ever looked at a plate pattern and gone, that would make an amazing game. So
that's because you don't know the true story of the love story behind those plates.
Well, I've read the full story of Kung Shi and Chang and the difficulty about the daughter to the wedding to the Duke and the unrequited love and all of that and the revenge story, and it's very elaborate. But by the time I got to at least halfway through that story, I'd finished my dinner, so that was it. It was off to. That was it. So I never really, I ate quite quickly, so I never really got to the end of the story. So who knows what happens at the end of that? So anyway, there you go. What did you like it?
No.
What's to like? It's a game based on a plate.
I'll elide all the plate-based crockery nonsense. Not on crockery.
Not on crockery.
What should you never base your plate game on? Not on crockery.
Not on crockery.
That's what you shouldn't do. So it's similar. It's we've said it before. It's saber wolfy. It's a bit similar to Robin of the Wood in how it plays. In how it plays, in the fact of you run up and down and you move. You can move up and down in the screen and move left and right, flick screen.
That doesn't describe many games.
I know it does, but it's similar. When I was playing it, I put similar to Robin, but it's not as good. Basic design
Just
issues.
A bit.
You can only get past enemies with a sword. These are limited pickups. If you die, they go. And they do not respawn, meaning you cannot continue because the swords are now gone and you can't get past the enemy who instantly kills you upon sight. So that's bad. The visuals are a garish mixture of styles, and why is crossing a bridge so hard? The bridge bits, I didn't know what it suddenly
it
turns
changes
into this,
viewpoint, doesn't it?
It turns into this weird kind of like dreamlike Chinese weirdness where there's these three giants reaching down off a bridge and you have to sort of jump when they're not reaching down. It's so bizarre.
The blurb description for this that I found was Willow Pattern is a flick screen maze game which is viewed from the side looking from above. And that sentence hurt my brain instantly.
What?
It's viewed from the side looking from above. I was like, but that's how you look at a plate, so that makes sense.
What, from the side from above?
Well, yeah, because exactly.
I can't look at anything like that.
Well, if you put a plate down on the table and look down, you're looking at it from above, but you're looking at one side of it.
Okay.
Because if you looked at there's an edge of a plate and there's the side of a plate. The side of a plate is the side with the pattern on it. The edge of a plate is the rim around the edge.
That means that people are just laying on the floor and you're looking down on them.
You make games from plates. That's perfectly normal.
I don't know. But it's a strange game. There's some interesting ideas. But nothing works. Nothing works as it should do. And it's just
strange that.
I just don't know. And I don't know how it got 60%. I don't know.
Maybe they like the pattern.
Maybe they were big, crockery fans.
They must have
I
been.
don't know. Willow Pattern was it's only £4, I guess.
Only £4. Do you know how many Willow Pattern plates you could buy for that? Hundreds.
Well, I don't know back then. They were a bit pricey back then.
They've never been pricey.
I don't know. I'm not into crockery. All my crockery is plain white.
You can go right now to B&M and you can get the entire plates, dinner service and everything else for £2.50, and that's 700 plates, fit 14 million side plates.
All seen from the side on.
That's how you buy them. They only accept Willow Pattern currency.
Which you can only see from one angle.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an angle that human eyes can't envisage.
Exactly. Strange.
Jesus. All right. So did you like that?
No.
No.
Stupid.
We don't like Willow Pattern. Plate-based games.
Stupid game.
Plate-based games are not our forte.
No. Do not make games based on dinner plate patterns.
No. Let's move on. Let's leave Willow Pattern in the dining room.
Not on crockery.
That's the best way of describing it. How should you never make games? Not on crockery. Let's move on. To our next game, second to last game. This game does it have a reputation because it's got a really, really good bit of music and it's stupidly hard?
Very.
Then, yeah, I think that's correct. We are indeed talking about our second mad game, Mastertronic's Added Dimension, which is basically them trying to charge you an extra £1. This is the last V8, and you must return to base immediately. So the last V8, what's the last V8? It's a top-down, it's not side-on, it's a top-down car game where you have to control a car down a series of narrow roads and get it back to a base. So the reason for all this car-based, and the reason it's the last V8 shenanigans, is this is set a few years after a nuclear war has killed everyone, and you take your souped-up car for a ride, being one of the scientists who was down in a bunker at the time the bomb went off, and you managed to stay safe and work on your car for a few years. It's nice that the radiation has died down after only 7 years. I'm not sure that would happen, but hey-ho.
No, 700 maybe.
Yeah, so you can go up, so you take your car up for a bit of a joyride, only for it to be cut short by a random nuclear bomb that is about to go off.
Oh, the luck.
Doesn't always happen.
Yep.
So that's something. So you control your V8 car along narrow, windy roads to get back to the base. And then if you manage to get back to the base, you're then into the second stage where you travel around through an irradiated city to get back to Psi Base. Okay. Visually, it's quite nice. It moves at a fair click. It does that trick where 3/4 of the screen is taken up with a still image, which is a bit thing. And the only bit that scrolls is the top third. So in this top third, you have a top-down view, it's a very small car and roads and bushes and everything like that. It's a nice bit of weirdly it doesn't look irradiated at all. It certainly doesn't look like 7 years after the aftermath of a nuclear war. Looks very green and pleasant.
Green and pleasant land, yeah.
And somewhere that you'd actually quite like to live. And as we've said, there is a thumpingly good Rob Hubbard soundtrack. This is a really, really good bit of music in this. One of my favourites of his, shame we didn't get to hear much of it. The problem is that's it. You travel down this road. The lack of depth here is counterbalanced by an insane level of difficulty.
Yes.
It is stupidly hard it's just made ridiculous by its ridiculous controls. So because you're top down, the controls they have decided upon is the direction you push the joystick in is the direction the car goes in. The more you hold it that way, the faster you go. You have to go really fast through these narrow roads because you have such short amount of time that you can't, it's just, I do remember completing it when I was much younger. I think we did buy this. And obviously when you buy something, you're going to stick at it. And I played it now. It's ridiculous. It's just so twitchy. So you start off, you go to the left. So you have to fire to the left. So you're holding the left on the thingy to speed up. There's a bit of a turn, and then there's a sharp turn. So you've got to pull hard to the right to slow yourself down. And then you've got to push up to turn the car up. It's just, but then the more you push up, the faster you go, because now you're pushing up too much. And so you speed up again. There's no sense to this. It's a stupid control system that would have just been easier if you just held the fire button down to go fast and just used left and right to turn left and right. Like any car game.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous, stupid thing. Add to that the fact that this car is so fragile that any brush against a bush or a bit of shrubbery or anything, renders it into a burning mass of flames and instant death, where you then have to sit through an explosion and a bit of hubbub music and then a load back to the beginning and then hear that bloody speech again before you can get going again. Oh, Christ on a bike. There's a game here that with a more forgiving control system, but I watched a playthrough of this because I was like, I saw this. I watched a playthrough on YouTube because I tried and I couldn't get there. So I thought I'll see what there is in there. And the playthrough on YouTube is about 6 minutes long, 6 or 7 minutes long, and half of that is them sat there listening to the Hubbard soundtrack. There's no game here.
No.
There's literally no game. The second half going through the city, it's like a maze and there's no real way to know where you got to go. And it's trial and error and there's, you're just going to get blown up. And there's so little game here that for $2.99, even for $2.99, and this was made by David Darling, who said will go on to much better things, obviously. But as a program exercise, it's good. But as a control game, no. I was looking forward to going back to this because I thought, is it? I know it's got a bit of a reputation to be really hard and people are a bit down on it, but they're down on it for a good reason. This is not a good game. It's a bad thing. Don't know. What did you think?
Same, absolutely the same. It was graphics were kind of nicely drawn, such as they were. Obviously, the audio soundtrack is its saving grace, but it can't save this game. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. There's no fun. Games that are impossible are no fun. It surprised me. I mean, the Darlings go on to do much better games. They do. And I never did play the 1 to 8. There's a Commodore 1 to 8 version of this specifically. And I don't know what secrets that holds, but, just make the roads a bit bigger and make the car a bit... If they'd have done that, made the road a bit bigger, made it a bit more forgiving and made the car a little bit more controllable, they'd have had a great game here because the pace of the music and the car driving around and it owes a little bit to Mad Max, the last V8, that idea of the V8 Interceptor, that Mad Max's car is the last V8 Interceptor. So it's got a Mad Maxy borrowing there from a bit of that. And of course, the kind of doom, the apocalyptic sort of setting and all that. That's the only bit, though. I think I maybe got past the first 2 bends and then I just kept blowing up. And I tire of games that kill me over and over and over and over again. The Hubbard soundtrack's the only thing in it that's worth the time and effort for that. So it's a shame, really. A little bit more thought and a little bit more respect for your players might very well have yielded a much better game, but they didn't do that for this time. They do it later, but this time I wonder what prompted them to release it. It feels a little bit too hard, which makes me wonder if there's even an ending to that game, if it just rolls on and on. So
there is an ending. You can see it on YouTube. You can watch it. And like I said, I do remember I put a lot of time and effort in as a kid, and I did complete it.
You probably get some naff speech at the end. You have successfully.
I think that's what happened. Yeah, so, well done. You made it back.
The speech is just meaningless. Don't put, it's all very technical and clever, albeit that it sounds a bit husky, that speech, and a bit, phlegmy. It's all clever and stuff. It's unnecessary in this game. Focus on making the game good. Don't focus on making the audio clever. Clever tricks aside, and they were the poster boys for game design at one point, the Darlings, weren't they? And famously, there was all the articles about them going from bedroom to billions. That was the premise of their... And to be fair, they did go on to do amazing stuff, and still are, I think, in one way or another. Maybe less so now, but I don't know what they're... But they started with humble beginnings, and games like this could have been much better than they were. So it's a shame, really, because I had for some reason, it had reputation of being hard, but quite good. And in actuality, it's just plain old hard, and unplayable, really. Good music, though.
Yeah, great music. There we go. The last V8. Let's move on to our final game for this month, and that game is a version. This is a strange one, this one. A version of Scalextric. So I'm not sure there's that much to say about this, really.
No, not really. It's a
Scalextric
2-player racing simulation based on a toy. It's Pit Stop 2, really. There's a lot of Pit Stop 2 in here, and you can't help but draw comparisons because they kind of look the same. There's things that Pit Stop 2 does better. Pit Stop 2 is a better game, but there are things that Scalextric does that Pit Stop 2 doesn't do. So Pit Stop has pit stops and the whole idea of it being tactical around the tyres and, that kind of thing. It has that. This doesn't have that. This is strictly a race to the finish, 1-to-1, fastest car wins, a bit like Scalextric is, really. And of course, it does have that course designer, so you can design your own courses with the track, a la Scalextric. So graphically, for me, it looked very similar to Pit Stop 2. Very similar. It's almost the same thing, really.
There's no animation when you go around corners, though, is there?
No, it's just
cars are a bit flat.
Is it a bad game? No. Is it as playable as Pit Stop 2? No, but it does have that course designer, which could be fun if you want to just have a bit of a blast around your own course. So I think there's a space for it, and Scalextric is a big license. It was huge in the 80s, Scalextric, massive. It's a big license. So it's just a racer on racer. I think Zap really got the rating on this one about right, about 78%, maybe 70. It has a place in the sort of racing games. It's better than Pole Position and all that kind of, those horrible blocky monstrosities. It's better than those. And of course, it's better than that Talladega thing. So is it as good as Pit Stop 2? No. Is it a good also ran? If you was into racing games, you'd have both of these on the shelf, I think, is the best way to put it. For different reasons. They're both good, but they play differently. I prefer Pit Stop 2 because I like pit stopping and I like, the idea of the tyres and all of that. I like that about Pit Stop. They're my favourite bits about it. It's a tactical game. It just isn't just race to the finish. And it can't be really real Scalextric unless you forever flinging your car off the corner every 2 seconds.
Well, that's what I've put. Yeah.
So, that's the true test of a Scalextric. So as soon as you press the trigger, that car's flying off and it breaks or shoots off the bend. No, even if you put the little plastic guards around, because, the power to electric ratio, it's like playing with Teslas, isn't it? They go from 0 to 60 in 0.0003 of a second, it would seem. And before you even realise it, the Scalextric car is turboed off the track halfway across the room and hit the wall. And then there's the panic about, oh no, the little silver hairy thing underneath that sticks onto the little track has come off. And you're like, oh, I can't play it now.
The tar brushes.
Yeah, exactly. So, actually, if you like Scalextric, go and play Scalextric for real. Get a scale. Don't play this. Just play Pit Stop. Pit Stop 2, not Pit Stop, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is very, very Pit Stop 2. It looks very, and I thought that it's solid. I mean, technically, it's very good. I did I did build my own track. I gave it a go.
Track build is good.
So I built a track and had a race with it. I like the chicane, so you can have these sort of single lane sections, which is a bit different, which you get on, Scalextric. And being able to save and load them is nice. My problem was with it was just it's sparse because it's Scalextric. There's no other cars on the track.
Yep.
So
just one-on-one.
It's just one-on-one, which, and I get that it's because it's Scalextric, but it just means it's slightly lifeless.
Yeah.
Once you're at different parts of the track, it's very hard to fail going around a corner. You just slow down slightly and you can usually make it around a corner. So it's very hard to actually catch anyone up or lose anyone. You just don't. So
and the truth of it, really, if they were going to make it like a Scalextric game, you would just have a fire button that speeded you up and slowed you down. That would be it. You wouldn't have controls because you don't control your direction in Scalextric. The track has got track, and you go around that. The skill in that game is controlling the speed of the vehicle going around the bend. So maybe they perhaps should have thought about that when they did it, but would have been very exciting, was it, just to press one button?
Well, yeah, but it's nice visuals though, and it's effective split screen. The split screen is nice. It's it's good effect. So programmed it well, and there's a lot to it. I like putting your names in and stuff, and also as well. One thing it does have over Pit Stop, it's got a lot of not just build your own tracks, but it's got about 17. It's got quite a few inbuilt, real racing track.
Yeah, they're quite good.
Because Pit Stop 2's only got 6, whereas this has 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So it's got somewhere in the late teens. So that that's quite nice. There's a bit more variety in the tracks. It's just racing around them becomes very dull very quickly. And I thought maybe it needed something more to it. And like you, I thought maybe if you go flying off the course if you went too fast at corners or something to replicate Scalextric. Because that's my memory of Scalextric. You've got your sensitivity on that trigger from going at an acceptable speed to pinging off the track was about 1 millimeter on that trigger. Yeah. Go past that millimeter and you're going off the track. It's not. So yeah, it's a decent enough racing game. And like you said, it's better than pretty much everything else we've played bar Pit Stop 2. Yeah. But it's just a bit lifeless, which is a bit of a shame, really. Some more cars on the track. If you're gonna make it feel like a Grand Prix with real world tracks, and you're gonna go down that route, it needs more other cars. Yeah, it needs other cars.
Well, can you imagine how boring Formula 1 would be if it was just 2 cars?
Oh God, it's boring enough as it is.
Well, that's what I mean. It's and that's because it's become so robotronically safe, and the drivers they're almost like automatons that they just sit there with. No disrespect to Lewis Hamilton, but he is just a driving robot that they place into that car, which is molded and fitted to him. He plugs in his USB port in the back of his neck and just connects to his car, and then him and like Kit and Michael Knight, they're just they're off in a. They're off together, and that's what it's like. So there's a reason why you can't beat drivers like that in these. Because why he's world champion is because that's he's a robot, and the car is a robot, and they are they're in a conjoined mind, and so to have just 2 of those in Formula 1 would be dull, and that's kind of what this game suffers from. It's just dull. If you get ahead of that other person, there's very little opportunity to sort of overtake them, so you're just behind them forever. So you need that flying off the corners, and you need some, possibly a bit of science fiction, maybe a giant squid.
For all our reviews, where the game's a bit boring, end with giant squids.
Possibly a giant squid.
It would have made it more interesting, though.
Yes.
Giant squid makes everything more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from a Pirates of the Caribbean film.
So if you like Scalextric, my advice would be go and buy yourself an eBay Scalextric, set it up, play it, get frustrated at the cars flying off the corners like everyone does, and then put it back in its box and put it in the loft, and it'll be there for the next 10 years.
Well, before you sell it on eBay to the next unsuspecting buyer. Yeah, there we go.
But be prepared, by the way, to spend at least 20 to 30 minutes pressing the little triggers, and the car going and stopping and going forward about an inch and stopping. And what's wrong with it? And then suddenly it goes zoosh and shoot off, and because that's what that's the rules of Scalextric. You can't just put it in, play and go. It has to have lots of electromechanical faults before you get really going. So just as a heads up.
Have we touched on a Scalextric nerve here?
Do you know, I never owned one. I never owned a Scalextric.
Did you not? We had loads. No. We had a big box full of it.
No, I think we had one of my cousins, distant cousins, I remember him having an enormous setup, multi-layered, and in his, it took over the dining room at their house, and it had headlights on the cars. I remember that. So when it went under the tunnel thing, you could see the headlights. It was all very exciting, but it prompted conversations with I think either my brother or somebody at the time to say, just put your head near the track and watch the cars zoom towards you. And it's fatal to do that when you've got brothers.
We used to do that because we had TCR.
TCR, that's the Total Control Racing, yeah.
Total Control Racing, where you could switch lanes.
Yes. Yeah, see, that's, again, great. They're great things to play. They're great toys.
TCR was a bit better for the controls as well. It wasn't quite as twitchy as Scalextric.
My main beef with Scalextric at the time wasn't the actual playing of the Scalextric, which was fun. It was just so damn expensive. Even a basic Scalextric kit, which was just kind of a small loop, really, was, at the time, a lot of money. And, you need somebody to really play Scalextric with. Is there anything more depressing, apart from playing a game based on a plate? Is there anything more depressing than just Scalextric, one man Scalextric? It's just it's just not very exciting, is it? I mean, you can play both parts if you like, but you don't have
as much control in one hand. You are right-handed or left-handed unless you're ambidextrous, and then so one's going to be really crappily controlled, while the other one's quite well controlled.
But and you got to split your brain as well. I was going to say the thrill of beating yourself sounds awful. The thrill of winning a race against yourself, it's going to wear off pretty quick, I would have thought.
True.
It's like, I win. Left hand wins, right hand wins. No,
you have to think in Russian for that shit.
Fire rearward missile. Oh, damn.
Anyway, enough of that. That's our games. What have we looked at? So in this episode, we have looked at Ballblazer, Underworld, Imhotep, Thunderbirds, Dynamite Dan, Willow Pattern, The Last V8. Yeah, never base a game on crockery. Last V8 and Scalextric. And Scalextric. I'm going to, from personal point of view, there's only one I want to put in.
Which is?
To our Ballblazer.
Yeah, it's the only one out of that lot.
It's the only one I can recommend anyone play from those 8.
I think I liked any of the others really that much. So yeah, Ballblazer, go and play that. Because I didn't mind
Thunderbirds, but I can't recommend it. But yes, no. Ballblazer. And I would suggest, God, there's a few in there. Imhotep, Willow Pattern, Last V8. Don't ever play them.
Just put them in the vault.
Just listen to Last V8.
Listen to Last V8 because listen to that. Eat your dinner off a Willow Pattern plate. Don't play the game. You'll get more value from that.
And buy some Scalextric.
There you go.
That's our recommendations. Let's move on. Games we didn't look at. Nothing. We looked at every game in this episode. We looked at every game. This is all there was. So apart from adventure games and strategy games, which we're not looking at and not our remit, we looked at every single thing that Zap reviewed. So there we go. So let's look at our Crapverts. We've got 3 more Crapverts. Our first one is Sir Fred.
God, what's that?
I don't know. It's a severe attack of chivalry on a moonlit night. You see, they're going for that stupid humour again.
Yeah.
So, Sir Fred, it's got a nose as big as his belly.
Yeah. Is it a kind of a, what's the film with the guy with the big nose? Cyrano de Bergerac, is it?
Quite possibly.
I don't know if it's something around that. It's on the old 48K Spectrum there, aren't they?
I know.
Because it's obviously they've gone for that kind of oldie
995
writing.
is expensive on a Spectrum, isn't it?
Don't go hog wild with display fonts, especially ye old display fonts, because it's just...
It renders you powerless, dear boy.
Well, just don't do it, And they're clearly that pound sign, because they didn't have a pound sign in that font, they've just drawn one that kind of looks like it. So it's a really crap.
Oh, it's terrible,
pound
isn't it?
sign. It's just been, there's no pound sign on this typeface. Oh, just make one. Just create, it's just crap. So, and I got a strange feeling. I could be wrong, but I'm wondering if that's the different typeface to the one that's used at the top as well. Might be. No, it's the same S on Spectrum. So no, it's the same. Well, so unified typeface is good. Poor choice of typeface though, and that game tells you nothing, does it? And that, who is that meant to be?
I don't know.
I don't know, but that nose is enormous. It's terrifying. Bigger than his head. He's just one big nose. If he sneezed, it'd be terrifying and very, very gruesome. Very gruesome.
And that castle in the background is crap.
And I think, and I'm going to put myself out on a bit of a limb here, that they have taken either I'm not going to say which one, but I have a feeling that the stance of that character, at least the way the legs are, the way it stood, the way the pose is, I have a feeling that's been kind of weirdly traced over from a Looney Tunes. Because that stance looks to me like Marvin the Martian, Daffy Duck, and that's kind of how they stand in some of the. Because I'm a huge fan of all those kind of cartoons, and especially all of the Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny, all of those kind of things, Bugs Bunny, Daffy, all of those Looney Tunes, and all of the Tom and Jerry, all of that era of cartoons. I love them, and I mean really love them with a passion, especially some of the amazing stuff they did with Mel Blanc's voice and all that. Amazing stuff. And so I have a very strong affinity for the art style. I've got books on it, and I have to tell you that is borrowed. That pose and that stance is borrowed. So my feeling is that it's either deliberately done that way to make it look a bit Looney Tuny. Weird though, because it's kind of, it reminds me of that, who's that guy that laughs all the time? That is a ex-footballer who's on Gladiators, I think, or what, that ninja program. I can't remember his name now, but he's always, you can't miss him. He's a ex-football pundit guy. He's always laughing, great big teeth. Funny guy, but I can't think of his name. Anyway, game will come to me at some point, but it reminds me of him.
It's not a great advert though, is it?
No, Microgen though, they did quite a few games on the old Spectrum, didn't they? Very popular. No, but it's crap advert. It's a crapvert.
Yeah, it's crapvert, yes.
I bet that character's rubbish.
Let's move on to wait till you see the next one.
Oh, goodness me, what is this? What is that? Grumpy Gumphrey? Take a closer look at Grumpy Gumphrey.
Gumphrey, you'll be appalled at how incompetent he is and how badly he needs your help. Grumpy Gumphrey, Super Sleuth from Gremlin Graphic.
That's not necessarily a good thing, is it? Look at the artwork on that. This mystery's in there. Why is there, like, in the back wall, a crack in the wall and some weird split flesh just poking its way through like a blob?
I don't know.
Why is that dodgy guy with the red tie going, hello, in the door at the back and is in a lift, isn't he? Or is that a lift? I think it's meant to be. Why is there a magnifying glass over that creepy looking guy's face?
Yeah, why? Because surely he should be the one with the magnifying glasses, shouldn't he?
Yeah, should be holding it over that coat with the eyes in because there's somebody hiding in there.
Yeah, it's some kind of weird. It's obviously some kind of, he's got his row of medals like he's some. Oh, it's like slightly Mr. Magoo.
Yeah, well, it says aging, losing his sight, and panic stricken with overwork. Can Grumpy Gumphrey, the geriatric store detective, hold down his position? That doesn't seem like a very nice thing to make a game about, does it? A geriatric store detective, let's give him Alzheimer's for a real laugh.
A kind assistant is needed to help round up the thieves, cage the gorilla, and tidy the warehouse.
I tell you what, that is a department store with problems.
Which bit sounds out of place there? Caging the gorilla. What the hell?
Why is that gorilla not in the advert anywhere?
There's also, I don't know if you noticed, there's a second pair of eyes just under his belly, his elbow.
Just spotted that as well, yeah. What a weird game.
I hate I really dislike the colours of the font because you can barely read them. The Grumpy Gumphrey going around the magnifying glass, take a closer look at, you can't barely read that. That white text on, a sort of pale yellowish background.
Yeah, it's awful. Like you said, he should be holding the magnifying glass because he's the one who's taken a closer look, not take a close look at him, because why would you do that in the context of this game? It's just stupid. Yet another stupid advert. I bet that game's awful.
Yeah. Yes, it looks it. It's going to be terrible, isn't it?
Yes,
I've never heard of it.
No. And with good cause.
And with good cause. And we've spoken before about like licensing issues. I'm wondering whether they license this next one. I've heard of this game, but the advert the advert beggars belief a little. So that's
Stan Laurel, isn't it?
It is Stan Laurel, yeah. So Sweevo's World. I believe this was a sort of, I seem to remember this is like a Night Law type thing.
Yeah, I've got a vague memory of it as well.
Funniest cartoon adventure. I hate fonts where they put it over similar colours, and you can't read them. The funniest cartoon adventure you'll ever take part in, and it's really tricky to read that you'll ever take part in.
Yeah.
But it's essentially, it's an android Stan Laurel.
It is exactly an Android Stan Laurel. And the only saving grace on this otherwise awful advert is I quite like the typeface that they've done for Sweevo's World. I quite like that. It's totally out of context for this stupid advert. This looks like a Ladybird book missing the Ladybird. If you put a Ladybird image like they get on that corner, it would look exactly like the front cover of a Ladybird book. Mm-hmm. So, and maybe that's its appeal. Maybe that's what they were going for. But nobody's going to know that Stan Laurel who that appeals to. He's a famous. Obviously, Laurel and Hardy was famous back way before anyone would envisage. So it's a bit of a cop out. So nobody would know that. It's probably a cheeky little. I'll make him look like a lot of Stan Laurel because the guy that drew it or the woman that drew it really liked him.
I think if you remember back to our childhood sort of thing, Laurel and Hardy was still pretty big. I knew of. I mean, they were always on at tea time.
Yeah,
nowadays
and there was a cartoon. There
clue.
was Laurel and Hardy cartoon, that awful American cartoon. So maybe
but I just don't know how you'd get away with just why you'd think, well, we'll just make him look like Stan Laurel on the advert. You could use any face, anyone. It's an advert. Who's Sweevo? Is Sweevo Stan Laurel? I don't know.
So we can have that image of him scratching his head like Stan Laurel, even though he never did that face when he scratched his head. So
no, it's not great, is it?
Not that exact face.
I don't know.
Awful.
I got all these three are just a big character that's crazily bad. I don't know. I didn't understand them, these adverts. But anyway, there's our Crapverts. You can see them on the website. They'll be there for you to take a look at. We're going to now what was going on in the big bad world of Commodore 64 games in the charts. So we've got charts from CMVG and Commodore User. So I think this is CMVG top 10 in reverse order. Black Witch at number 10, Beachhead 2, Karateka, Baron McGuigan's, Skyfox, Who Dares Wins 2, Way of the Exploding Fist, Summer Games 2, Frank Bruno's Boxing, and Spy vs. Spy 2.
How is Spy vs. Spy 2 a number 1 in that list?
No idea. Don't know.
Who Dares Wins 2, surely, or Summer Games 2. Maybe that might have been there a while and got knocked down, I suppose. But
I think they have been.
I wouldn't put Spy vs. Spy 2. Elite are doing well in that chart by the look of it. But,
Elite. Yeah, they are.
They're number 2, aren't they? So.
Well, yeah, only number 2. Yeah. Ariolasoft have got 2 with Skyfox and Karateka.
Yeah, that's good. But they did sort of bombard release loads of games one after another, didn't they?
Yeah. In the Commodore User chart, though, their top 10 has Beachhead 2 at number 10, Frank Bruno's Boxing, number 9, Fighting Warrior in at number 8, Action Biker, Kickstart, Way of the Exploding Fist, Summer Games 2, Who Dares Wins 2, Monty on the Run, new in at number 2, and new in straight at number 1 is Winter Games. It's very strange how these... Are
they predictive charts that they put in there or something?
You know what? I've no idea.
It says at the bottom there in the little blurb, chart compiled for Commodore User by Gallup Microscope, the UK's number 1 games chart. So if that's a Gallup chart, if that's an official chart.
It must be the official one.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. What we got to look at next episode. I think Blade Runner's an adventure game. I'm not sure. We've got Bounder. We've got a couple of gold medals. Bounder and the Eidolon. Big issue. Commando. So we've got a C64 conversion of Commando. Desert Fox. I'm not sure if we don't know about Desert Ex Machina. I'm not sure if we'll look at that. Falklands 82 sounds like a strategy game. Fight Night finally makes an appearance after quite a few months of hype.
I bet we wish it hadn't. Friday
the 13th, Gertie Goose. I'm not sure about Gertie Goose. So Gyroscope, Masquerade, One Bite Too Deep. I'm not sure if that's an adventure. Outlaws,
Rambo. Classy.
Revs.
Oh, that's that. See, Formula 1 simulator.
It is. Space Pilot 2. That terrible advert. It's a terrible advert.
I remember the advert. I just don't remember the game.
And also Starion. We mentioned the advert for that as well. Wild West Hero, Wishbringer. Not sure what that is. Worm in Paradise. Not sure if these are adventures. I have a feeling they are. And Zorro. Okay. So I thought Zorro was earlier than this because I was surprised we hadn't found Zorro yet. But Zorro is essentially
early game, late release.
It's a I seem to remember Zorro. It's Bruce Lee. It's Bruce Lee Zorro, isn't it?
Yeah.
I seem to remember Zorro, so I think we'll look at that. Those are our games we're probably looking at over the next couple of episodes. So there you go. That's this episode of Zapped to the Past. Thank you for listening to us. Where can you find us on the web? Loads of places. On Twitter.
Zappedthepast.com.
Zappedtothepast.com is the website. Go look there. That's where you'll find the Crapverts and links to previous episodes, a list of games that we've covered. You can find us on Twitter at ZappedToThe. You can find us on Facebook at Zapped to the Past for a page and a group. Come and join us. Come chat. Say hello if you want to. You can find us on Instagram at ZappedToThePast. You can email us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. I think that's it, isn't it? I think that's where we are.
That's it. That's us.
That's it. That's where we are. So, it's great if you want to come and say hello, if you want to come message us, tell us, whether you agree with us about any of the games we've spoken about or you don't agree with us or whatever. It's up to you, and let us know your memories of those games because we like to hear them. But that's about it, really, I think, for this episode. We'll sign off. I've been Adrian Mills.
I have been Graham Willow Pattern Raddings.
I have been Not on Crockery. And we have been Zapped to the Past. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next episode. Tatty bye.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, sights, sounds and news from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zapped 64 magazine published at the time. We will be back next week with another podcast, so do please join us. Until then, please head over to zappedtothepast.com to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the show notes. You will also find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram under Zapped to the Past. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zapped 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe and see you next time.